What's going on, friends? It's your old pal Sean Pierce Johnson here. Welcome back to SPJ Live. Hope wherever you are in the world today that you're doing well, that you're healthy, hopefully. I hope everything is still weird around the world. And hopefully things start to get a little bit better. It's been an interesting week. The holidays coming up, there's all sorts of hullabaloo and everybody's trying to figure everything out. Kind of feels like the world's going to hell in a handbasket a little bit, but at least we got guitars, we got pedals, we got amplifiers. We can have ourselves a little bit of fun. If you are joining for the first time tonight, thank you so much for joining in. Please do leave comments in the chat. We love to have people interact in the chat, have a good time with our regulars as well as our newbies. We're a fun, welcoming community. At least I like to think that we are. Wherever you are watching from around the world, it is A-OK by me, and we welcome you, and we hope that you have some fun, that you click the thumbs up button so that this video gets some thumbs up. If you're enjoying the information and the time, share it with your friends. And of course, clicking the subscribe button helps out greatly. Everybody's going to be asking me what I'm drinking out of this glass right here. And it's nothing more than just some iced coffee with a little bit of sparkling water. I got hip to that from the clothing company Violent Gentleman. They have a coffee brand that they collaborate with a local roaster on, and the guy who's kind of the head guy for the team posted about it on their Instagram, and I thought I'd give it a try one hot summer day, and before you know it, bam, I had myself a new favorite beverage. Ben Coombs is in the house, one of my good buddies and Mr. Moderator to the Stars. How you doing, Ben? Good to see you here. Hope you guys up in the Great White North are doing okay. And of course, through the other things that you guys have been dealing with right now, been thinking about you guys. Hope you all are doing well. But for those of you that may be joining in for the first time, hey, Music Therapy Laz is here. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. There is a chance that there might be some new folks watching tonight. Because of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be taking a look at my brand new guitar that I bought from Ormsby Guitars. I am very excited about this guitar and have been for the last week that I've had it. But I want to sort of look at this in a way that it can kind of help people that maybe are coming from the Ormsby Facebook group with info about their guitars and how you can buy them and all this other stuff and info on their production runs. If you're coming over from that group, a lot of the information is going to apply to people that maybe are still on the fence about buying something. This is also going to be a way for me to share information about how you can feel confident in buying a guitar sight unseen, but you're going to be happy about it, and you're going to be making a calculated risk. That's the phrase that we're going to be using a lot tonight that I want you to take away is calculated risk. Doing the homework in order to make sure that the risk you take has greater reward than you would if you just went into it blind. Speaking of Ormsby Guitars, Ormsby Guitars is in the house. How you doing, guys? Good to see you here. The crew of Ormsby is rather large, so I don't know who exactly it is that's watching, but whoever it is they're driving, just drive. Don't worry. Don't worry about trying to comment. You get home safe. That's the most important thing. Janice has joined the chat. How you doing, Janice? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So we're going to get kind of into the meat and potatoes of this idea, this subject of buying a guitar sight unseen and how you can get the most out of it and how that applies to this guitar that I got from Ormsby. So we'll rewind the clock a little bit and we'll go back to 2015 when things were fairly normal in the world, and Ormsby Guitars was not discovered by me. Oh, it's Perry in the house, Mr. Perry Ormsby himself. Good to see you, Perry. Yeah, drive home. Get home safe to the family. That's more important than you commenting on things. But it's great to have you here. Ah, JJ's House of Jams. How you doing, neighbor? Good to have you here. You'll when this is all said and done, you're gonna have to come over and check this thing out because you'll see. So we're gonna wind the clocks back a little bit to 2015 when things were more normal. Or was that 2016? No, it was 2015. So Ormsby Guitars was actually discovered by an Ormsby, not by a Johnson, by an Ormsby. For those of you who know my wife, Cinda, her maiden name, and actually a name that she kept when we got married. She has a hyphenated last name in case anybody cares about those details. She's an Ormsby through her dad's side, and I believe English descent. And having a name that's pretty uncommon in the United States, anytime it jumps out at you, you gravitate towards it. And that year I was working with Victory Amps and Chapman Guitars at the NAMM show. And she comes up to me after one of the days, just like, oh my God, Sean, there is an Ormsby guitar company. Did you know about that? And I said, no, I did not. So she took me over the booth. At the end of the day, nobody was there because it was the end of the day. And lo and behold, there were these insane looking guitars, unlike most things. I hadn't really seen anything like it since Conklin guitars. I don't know if you guys remember Conklin guitars. They were a fairly prominent, well-known boutique builder, sort of in the early 2000s. I remember getting familiar with them, ironically, due to the most recent Ormsby Guitars artist, Rusty Cooley. He had a few of their guitars that he would play. And they sort of were the first company that I ever saw doing multi-scale and fan fret guitars. As a matter of fact, I think Conklin owned the trademark for fanned fret, because every other company that I would talk to and say fanned fret, they're like, well, we can't call it that. So that's when they got on my radar. And obviously at the time, most of the things that I were seeing, they were very high end, very specialized, and maybe not something that I was fully ready for. Fast forward a few years, and now it seems, we have the GTR series, which is Ormsby's production models. They're not the custom shop stuff that gets built in Australia. Instead, what this product line is, it's Ormsby specs, Ormsby designs, and they get built by World Music Instruments in South Korea. Now, I don't think I need to explain to any of you either new to this idea or anybody who's been on the channel for a regular length of time, not focusing on Ormsby, that World Music Instruments is it's arguably the best guitar factory in South Korea, building stuff for ESP, Schecter. They currently build the Abasi stuff as well, which is getting some pretty good reviews from what I've seen. They have also built the PRS SE guitars back in the day. But overall, it's like you have this company rising, their stock is rising, their star is rising, trying to get a production guitar out there so that maybe their stock can rise a little bit higher, which I think is pretty awesome. And so they're using one of the best factories in South Korea to build these guitars, and that's what I got. Funnily enough, Perry himself was actually on an episode of the Australian edition of the show Shark Tank, which if any of you have watched Shark Tank, it can be a funny show. And I don't think the people on Shark Tank really got it. I think they thought maybe they'd get it. But, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But I feel like the way that they have done things now and being very open and very, how shall I put this? They basically, if you want to know stuff about this, my experience with getting this Ormsby has been, if you want information about it, they're very forthcoming with the information. From future models to current models, any B stock they have available, just ask the question. They're going to be giving you an answer, which is awesome. It makes you want to spend your money with this group of people that are clearly backing up the product that they make. And so here is where we really start the idea of buying a guitar sight unseen. Now, the first thing I did was, of course, I found Ormsby on every form of social media that I possibly could. Facebook and Instagram were really the ones that I gravitated towards the most. Now, of course, I have the luxury of being local to Southern California and was able to see some of the guitars in person at the NAMM show, get attracted to them on that level. But over the course of the last couple of years, as the Ormsby stock rises, it gets a little harder to get some time with the guitars because the booth is just crowded with people the entire time, and they're sitting there for a really long time just playing the guitars. You got the opportunity to do it, why not do it? So that left me in a bit of a conundrum when late last year, I just kind of decided that, you know what, my Chapman ML7, as good of a guitar as it is, it's not good enough anymore. I need something that is on another level. I need something that's a little bit higher end. I need something that is going to allow me the ability to keep up with what I do. And also allow me to explore the 7-string a little bit more, because I was starting to feel like me and the Chapman were fighting in a way to get some use out of it. I very rarely picked it up, and anytime I did pick it up, nothing came out of it. So it left me basically with a guitar sitting on the rack collecting dust, which is never a good thing. And so my research started on social media. And I can honestly say that it helped out a lot, especially when I found the Ormsby GTR Facebook group, which anybody is welcome to join if you want to find out information about the GTR series. You want to talk to other Ormsby owners. Ormsby owners will then post stuff about their guitars. They'll share their experiences. And what's also really cool is that Ormsby themselves host a buy, sell, trade Ormsby thread in the group every month. So worldwide, Ormsby owners can find each other. They can trade stuff. They can, buy from each other, sell to each other, all that good stuff. So that's a really great resource. Finding users that have a kind of guitar that you want and asking them for as much feedback as possible. And I can't stress the idea of finding owners of these instruments. A lot of times, because of what I do and my reputation, people will ask me questions about a lot of different types of gear. And unfortunately, I can't really help them. Because I don't own this stuff. I have passing glances with certain pieces of equipment. And if I have passing glances, I very rarely recommend the piece of equipment. So finding owners is definitely a big time key thing in buying a guitar that you've never played before. And Ormsby has the resources for it via their social media, contacting them personally, and then also access to Facebook groups or some sort of user base where you can start to do some research, do your homework, and start to get a vibe for what you can possibly get. Well, thankfully, by my membership in that group, I was watching sound example videos of guys playing their stuff, seeing some pictures of what the new models were going to be looking like. And then finally came the teasers for the Black Friday specials, which definitely piqued my interest as much as the Australian-built hype machine really enticed me with the open grain finishes. Was sadly a little too far out of budget on this one. And finally, with the wife's blessing, we just decided, you know what? We're going to make it happen. We're going to get this thing. You've talked about it enough, and if it's going to make you feel like you can play 7-string stuff better than you've been playing it before, then we'll do it. And so basically, after just asking a few simple questions, watching the different owners on the Ormsby group talk about their guitars, seeing what kind of sounds they were getting versus the kind of sounds that I would want to get, style of playing, all that different stuff, I placed my order. Now, I bought it through Reverb, so there was all the kind of reverby buying stuff, it is what it is. But shipping was prompt. I bought it on a Friday, so I had to, there was a little bit of a delay for the guys to get back into the shop, which is, of course, understandable. I placed my order, and shipment started on, I believe, maybe Monday. Yeah, shipment started on the Monday after I ordered via DHL. And DHL said it was going to be delivered a week from that day, so the next Monday after. Well, lo and behold, due to whatever magic DHL is able to do, that box came on a Thursday, and inside was this case. Now, when I got the box that this case was in, it basically was kind of like what I call a clamshell box, almost as if they lay the case down on a piece of cardboard, fold it around, and then, kind of like that. It wasn't your typical like top open guitar shipping box that you would normally see. The Fender that I got recently was like that, where the top opens more. This was like, we've got security for the shipping all the way around the perimeter of the case. And it was basically this case in the box, which sometimes when I see that, I get my heart races just ever so slightly. Because obviously when you buy something, you don't want the shipping to damage the guitar. And of course, the other funny thing about the shipping route, and I'm sure that Perry and the guys at Ormsby will know that when you look at the tracking, basically when the guitars get to them, they have to go from Korea to Singapore, go on a ship down to Australia. And what happened with this is it went from Australia on a ship back up to Singapore, then across the Pacific to California. So it was just really funny that the guitar had to go on a reverse route partially in order to get to me, which I find funny. But that's a long way for this guitar to travel. And so first thing was first, like you get it out of the box and you just look at this case. I mean, this is the most metal guitar hardshell case I've ever had. Not only do we have the red silkscreen logo here, but every little accent on the case is black. The clasps, the piping around the edges, the rivets here on the, leather parts of the of the case. It's just, it's a blackout case. It's red, and I'm just thinking to myself, when I see this case, okay, first off, there's not a flaw in the case. Party bonus. This thing looks bad ass. I can't say anything else about the case other than it looks bad ass. But the case is one thing. We're 20 minutes into this thing. Let's get to the guitar. Now, the case is quite plush on the inside. It's got the, again, kind of continues the theme with the red silk screen on there. It's got plush red lining. I'll show you a little bit of the case once we bust out the guitar. As far as what comes in the case, as far as case candy, because we need to, actually, you get your truss rod Allen wrench and your bridge saddle Allen wrench, which is great. And what I thought was actually really, and of course you get your case keys. And what I thought was really cool, and I wasn't expecting this, I have no idea who this guy is, and I have no idea what this is going to sound like, but they actually included a couple CDs from a guy called Graham Greene. I haven't gotten a chance to listen to him yet, but it's basically 2 full CDs of this stuff. And I can only assume that he's an artist of Ormsby, or at least associated with them in some way. But it's kind of cool that you get 2, like this one has 13 tracks. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tracks. 2 CDs, 23 tracks. I mean, that's pretty cool. You don't really see companies including artist music when they ship instruments. So I'll be giving these a listen sometime soon, and maybe we'll talk about feedback of how I feel about it and like what's cool. Kevin Gibbs is in the house. How you doing, Kevin? Good to see you. Paul Leonard Ewing, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Glad to have you here. And now I think we can get to the main event of the evening, which is the reveal of the Ormsby Guitars SX GTR Black Friday edition, serial number 4698, by the way. Guys, this is just, it's just so cool. You guys, you're not ready for this, but you're gonna see it. And there it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to introduce you all to my new 7-string. The Ormsby SX GTR in a matte white finish with black green fill. And it's basically sandblasted. This thing is a multi-scale guitar, which I believe has 27. I'm going to have to look up the 100% specs, but on the bass side, the low pitches, it's about 27.5 maybe. I might be a little off on that. Apologies to Perry about being off on the specs. But once we do a full like demo rundown, like we do an actual produced demo of this thing, I'll make sure that all the specs are there. But the treble side is 25.5-inch scale, 29 frets on the high end. The last fret is fret 29. Single volume, single tone knob, push pull. Yes, and Ben is correct. This thing is an arch top. Master volume, master tone, 3-way toggle switch, push pull to split the bridge humbucker, which is awesome. Next single coil. Roasted, 3-piece roasted maple neck with Ormsby branded locking tuners. There's the back. It just looks so cool. It's so cool. And one of my favorite things, the input or the output jack placement. Recessed in the guitar's body, but covered with this nice little part of the top so that you don't see the plug. And it comes out the guitar like that. Perfect arrangement for everything. to put it through your strap, down to your board. It's awesome. And yes, as Ben said, there is a volute on here. And it came in this awesome case, which, pardon me one second, put this down. And you guys can see a little bit of the plush red lining, and it fits like a glove. Really, really does. So, my first inclination, obviously, looks-wise, I knew what I was going to be getting because Ormsby provides some very, very good photography for these guitars when you choose to buy one. And the photos are very good, but I will say the photos did not do the finish justice, simply because in the photos, the finish looked a little flat how I was viewing it. And there's much more texture to this finish than I anticipated, which is not a problem for me. My wife and I both were like, whoa, this thing is super cool. So we were very, very happy with it, to say the least. Now, the first thing that I knew was going to be a bit of a thing for me, not having played this guitar, and it's something that I asked a couple people about and also paid attention to the threads on the group, is what's the neck gonna feel like? Now, if you guys know, my major preferences are usually Gibson-styled instruments with thicker necks. And especially when it comes 7 strings, I've never been a big thin neck guy. Having played a couple Ibanez Universes, it's like, man, this thing it's so skinny. You just feel like your neck is a piece of paper. This is a lot thinner than this is thinner than I would normally go for. But one of the things I have learned about buying guitars and playing guitars is that it doesn't matter at the end of the day. You have your preferences, but you just got to shut up and play your guitar. And that's the most important thing. And as I've been getting to know this, it's become very comfortable. The other things that I was wondering, this is a big one, and one of the reasons why I ended up going with the Ormsby is the multi-scale. Now, the challenge that I have had over the course of the last few years with my Chapman was the overall tuning of the low B string. Hold on. I think this will be better. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Pardon me. I'm trying to keep it down a little bit tonight, especially so that we don't have any buffering problems. Low E was a little out. But the low B has always been a problem for me on the Chapman over the last few years, because it would not stay in tune. It would not keep pitch. I always had to micro tune it with my fingerings. But I hit this low B power chord and it just... And then when it came time to do some riffing, and then one of the other things that I was very, what am I going to do, was just, I wanted to do more with the pitches that I had available to me. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So, for example, with the clean stuff, I like to do a lot of clean arpeggiated stuff. And I could not get away with doing some of the things that I wanted to do. Like, for example, if I do that. That low B just going in and out of tune on the Chapman just was getting in the way of me trying to explore ways that I could use the low end of the instrument and the high end of the instrument. And this multi-scale thing just takes care of that completely. You know, it's a very similar kind of physics idea with pianos, because the bass strings on pianos, they're always longer than the treble strings. So with that kind of idea, it's like, I don't really have to worry too much about it. I can do a few different kinds of complex chord voicings with the low pitches. This is a big one for me. A lot of the stuff I do has that that power chord with a fifth in the bass to just like really up the aggression. I could never do it on other 7 strings and keep it in tune. Not a problem with this guy. Oh, you hear that? You hear that pinch harmonic? Oh, that was great. Oh, that was so good. The other thing that has also been great about the multi-scale is that everything up here has the tension with a lighter string. So I'm not having to play these insanely thick strings that just kind of kill everything. So, you know, especially my fingers. I've been playing a lot recently, so I've been kind of liking lighter strings in a way. But yeah, this thing just it feels effortless in a way. And then we can do, I saw Lillian in the chat, which is great to see you, Lillian. Hope you're doing well. We can have some bendies. And it feels pretty much normal. The multi-scale doesn't have, it has a bit of a learning curve because you'll find yourself when you want to play certain chords, finding that, you know, bar chords are kind of actually, you know, they're not nearly as much of an issue as some people might make them out to be. This feels fair, like having my finger just a little like this feels pretty natural. See you later, Laz. Thanks for stopping by, buddy. Good luck with everything. But yeah, just having your finger just ever so slightly angled, it really doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like it's a problem. So there's a lot of talk about all these things. with multi-scales. And I personally am finding that with this guitar now and having it and getting to know it intimately, I'm really liking the idea. I'm really liking the concept for these extended range instruments. So research, you got to do your research. You got to make sure that you have access to the community. And if you're interested in one of these GTRs, I highly recommend that you join the group. The crew at Ormsby are posting news and updates about the different runs that they've been doing all the time. Whenever they have updates for the group, they are giving them. When you buy it through some sort of channel that you feel confident in. Reverb is reverb, and people love reverb. People hate reverb. I have no problems buying stuff with reverb. And the checkout process was very simple. All I had to do was just click add to cart and do my checkout. And next thing you know, this thing was on my way. DHL shipped promptly. They shipped quickly, quicker than I anticipated. And when it arrived, they basically just they rang the doorbell. And, you know, with everything with COVID right now, it's so weird. But he showed up. He said, "Hey, are you Sean?" "Yes, I'm Sean." "All right, man, here's your thing." "Okay, cool." Open it up. They treated it real well. DHL did. The case has no visible scarring on it or blemishes or anything like that. The guitar arrived safe. There's a tag that lets you know who did your thing. Mine was checked by Jordan on the 26th of November, 2020. Tuned to B standard with string gauges 9 to 54. And Perry, you're going to need to tell Jordan that he did a good job on this, because this guitar feels great right out of the box. Now, I did give it some time to acclimate a little bit. It had been in Southern California for 24 hours before I opened it. I gave it a little extra time, but I just couldn't wait to get started playing this thing and starting to incorporate it into the rig. So overall, from my homework process, making sure that I knew what I was walking into, ordering from Ormsby, getting it shipped via DHL, now my takeaways from it and my first impressions, I really don't have anything negative to say about this. Now, this is a big deal for me in playing all this noodly stuff, because what I have experienced with this and having the guitar for a week now, it's just amazing to me how stable it has been the entire time. Let's see. Oh, Roy, how you doing, buddy? Mike is ducking. Turn off the noise stuff. Well, let me see if that actually will help. Mic volume beta. Oh, huh. Interesting. Gonna have to look into that. There we go. Well, let's see how this does. And it's just amazing to me that the action has stayed low. Ah, Lillian, thank you so much for the super sticker and the donation. I really do appreciate that. I'll give you some more bends for that. And this is the other thing. When you start adding strings to the guitar, the way that the strings are spaced, really you start to notice it more than you would notice it on a 6-string. I can very easily go between a Strat, a Les Paul, Telecaster, even something much more metal like this with an Ibanez or stuff like that. 6-string, I can pick anything up, play it, I have no problem. 7 and 8s are a completely different animal. A lot of this stuff that I've experienced in playing these newer extended range instruments, now that they're starting to become more prominent in the guitar world and become a bigger segment of the marketplace, guys are starting to take into account string spacing a lot more in order to ensure that all the things that you're able to do on 6s, when you start transitioning to these larger string counts, you're still able to do. And what I've really, really enjoyed is that I feel like I'm able to do so many more things with this guitar that I would normally do on a 6. Different kinds of bends and arpeggiated patterns and double stops and things like that. I feel like I have the ability to do the things that I normally do and start exploring things that I don't normally do. And it's a very exciting thing to be able to say that you have instruments that allow you to do the things that you want to do. And shouldn't they all do the things that we want to do? As a matter of fact, I didn't have this guitar 24 hours before I was starting to come up with musical ideas, where I was starting to come up with musical arrangements. Many of you guys know that I'm going to be playing at my church's candlelight service this Sunday, which will be streaming, I believe, at least one of them, which I hope will be the later one. But I've been having a lot of Christmas carols and like traditional Christmas carols in my head, and I love the way that Vi will incorporate the 7-string into his music every now and again. It's got this very lyrical kind of quality to it. And so I just all of a sudden just started messing around with stuff and came up with this little... You know, just little arrangements of these classic Christmas carols that, because I have more stuff to use, I can start exploring these new ideas and things like that. I'm also looking forward to, with this, even though it's not a jazzy looking guitar, it's quite snazzy looking. It's not jazzy though. I'm kind of looking forward to exploring 7-string jazz guitar because this thing is set up enough where I feel like I can comfortably play that kind of stuff. And I know my jazz chords, but like getting into the idea of like walking bass lines on the low strings, maybe practicing a few things related to that. There's also an Ormsby artist. He goes by the name of Ando-san. I don't know if you guys follow him on Instagram, but I would highly recommend it because he is a really cool thumping, slapping, and popping guitar player. And he kind of incorporates a lot of hip-hop beats and things like that, and his phrasing is very, very good with it, and it's really groovy. Oh, it's so cool, and I really was like, he was definitely one of the guys that I saw prominently playing these guitars, and he's got one in this like blue to pink dragon burst. It's an 8-string, and it just looks so cool. But yeah, I'm really excited about things that I'm able to do with this. This was definitely a calculated risk, taking into account all these different factors, but still not being 100% certain whether or not I was actually going to love this guitar. It's just part of life, people. You can do as much as you can to try and prepare for things, but inevitably a wrench always gets caught in the gears, and you're going to find yourself just saying, man, I wish I wouldn't have. I wish that I didn't have to. I wish I could have. Luckily for me, I don't feel that way with this. I feel like I took the calculated risk, and the reward at the end of it all is far greater than I could have ever imagined it being. It's a little bit of a learning curve with the multi-scale because it's a brand new thing for me. But having said all that, it's not so bad that it's ruined my enjoyment of a new guitar. And with that in mind, turn this off. It ain't much on a 7-string compared to what a lot of other guys can do with a 7-string, but it's something I wrote, it's something I'm excited about, makes me feel something, and playing it on this guitar is really quite like a dream. I think Lillian puts it best. I get it was just meant to be, and I suppose it was. I really do feel like the fact that my wife found out about this company before I did. I feel like that was destiny. You know, usually she doesn't find out about things before I do. This was an exception, and a very good exception, I will say. Thank you, Roy. I appreciate that. That's actually something I wrote for. That's actually on Spotify right now. Spotify and iTunes. Go check out Cockeyed Optimist. It's the song Monotheistic. Check it out. Download it. All that good stuff. Listen to it. Stream it on it. No, we're not going to post about our Spotify stats because, quite frankly, that's not important. It's not why we do stuff like that. And I appreciate the compliment. It means a lot. That's one of my favorites. Oh. Pardon me, just got to keep myself fueled. Let's check out some clean tones. So, a little bit of compression, a little bit of Keeley compression, Walrus Audio Julia, and the Walrus Audio Slow. Let's kind of go with my signature arpeggiated riff, huh? How about that? I love this middle position with the humbucker and the single coil. It's got the right amount of snap, but it's got a little bit it's got that bell high end, but it's got that really nice quack and snap. Still kind of getting used to fingering things. For anybody who needs some innuendo in this live stream. Still kind of getting used to certain fingerings because obviously 7-string is not the main kind of guitar that I play for everything that I do. I switch back to 6s quite often. But having a good one, having a really good one now, I'm sure I will be getting used to them much more in the months and weeks to come. I'm quite excited about this. I might even bust it out for demos when it's called for. I don't know when that moment will be, but rest assured when the moment does arise, it will happen. Yeah. Well, there you go, guys. We've got a new 7-string in the house. Ormsby Guitars, SX GTR. It's multi-scale. It's a special one. Not normally part of the range. It's a special finish for Black Friday. Sum it all up. If you're looking to buy a guitar that you've never played in person before, you have to take the calculated risk. You have to do your homework. You have to poll the public. You have to find as much information about it as you can in order to make your decision. I did that. I found the resources, looked at all of them. When I couldn't find the answers that I was looking for, I asked about them. One of the things that I wasn't sure with this guitar was whether or not it was going to come with a bag or a case or none. I asked the question, someone from Ormsby answered the question, and that was like, okay, you know what? I got it. I got everything I need. I bought it. They shipped promptly. It arrived in great condition. And in the week that I have had it, I have felt, man, so good about this purchase. It came set up very well. I have no complaints about anything on the guitar as of right now. I think the only complaint I have is more the electrical in my house is really, really crappy. And the grounding in my studio, unfortunately, is very bad. And it happens to every single one of my guitars. So one day we're going to have to do something about that. That's not for us to worry about right now. But the guitar feels great. It sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to diving in more. Don't worry, Kevin. You will be seeing me again. I'm not going to lock myself in the woodshed. We've got a couple videos to round out the year. We're going to be making sure that those get done. Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200, the Fender American Pro 2, and of course, we're going to have to do a video where we go in depth on this. And I'm looking forward to doing that for you guys and waxing a little bit more poetically about this instrument. I am having such a blast with it. I can't wait for this nightmare of an era of time to be over so that we can play shows, that we can put out music and actually support it in some way, shape, or form. This will feature probably pretty heavily in some of the new stuff that we come up with. So I'm very happy with my purchase. And if you have any other questions, whether you're on right now, we got a few minutes left on the stream. If you have any questions about the buying process, some of the other recommendations I can make, or if you are watching in the future and you have any other questions about buying a guitar sight unseen, which I have done many, many times, please feel free to ask them either in the chat or in the comments. It's something that a lot of people are very, very particular about. But there are many things now about the way information is delivered that you can buy a guitar without playing it in person and be able to be happy with your purchase. It's very, very simple. And a lot of it, honestly, just comes with asking questions. And if maybe somebody's already had that question and they asked, you just need to go find it. It's called the search bar. Google can be your friend in this instance, so go do it. Roy asks, have you ever returned a guitar you weren't happy with? Have I ever returned a guitar I wasn't happy with? Yes and no. Yes, because when I got a guitar I wasn't happy about, it was for a demo that I was going to do and that I was going to be getting paid money for. But when I got the guitars home, the intonation was whack, the action was whack. I couldn't play them. Period. Could not play them. And there were things about the guitars that did not look good. They were not good. I called up the builder. I told him, hey, there's some issues with these things. And if I'm going to be able to make videos on them, I'm going to need to get them set up by a tech. And thankfully, he was not opposed to that. He was not too upset about it. If anything, he was more upset with his factory that builds the guitars. And I got them set up, I got them worked on, and I made the videos. And once they were dialed in, they were great guitars. But I wasn't going to move forward until they actually played like I wanted them to. But as far as anything I've bought, I have been really lucky. I've not had to return anything that I've purchased. I rarely buy guitars. This year I bought 2, this being one of them. And even with my Jennings, which was the other one that I bought, the one that I was playing at the top of the stream, even that, it's slightly different than the Sonic Blue Navigator that I had last year. But even still, it still is very close to what I remember. Still exactly what I want out of a Telecaster style guitar. Chad did a good job, and Perry and the crew did a great job speccing these out and getting World to build them. So I'm happy with that. Darkstar Gear in the house. How you doing, my friend? Once you land a winner, you'll be hooked. Exactly. You know, and luckily enough for me, and I've said this about other pieces of gear, but it's virtually impossible to release bad gear these days. Companies just can't get away with it. With the way that we communicate things on the internet, with live streams, with YouTube demos, and everything like that, it's very, very difficult for a company to release product that is bad. Because once it gets out in the court of public opinion that something isn't good, everybody's going to find out about it. Trust me, I've seen it happen many times in my decade-long journey in the musical instrument industry. It happens, and it's weird how quickly things can start to go awry in this industry, and the gossip that happens. There's some gossip that people aren't privy to, and that I'm not going to ever share. That it boggles the mind. But yeah, once you get a good one, you're hooked, and you know, I certainly can say that this won't be the last Ormsby that I buy. I anticipate at least one more in the guitarsenal, as it were, within the next few years. Roy's saying, I'm so leery of buying a guitar online. I'm very picky and usually get guitars that speak to me, if you know what I mean. I do know what you mean. I absolutely know what you mean. And as he's saying, it was different back in the 80s and 90s with terrible guitars everywhere. Indeed. But to go back to your first comment about guitars that speak to you, I totally get that. Totally get it. You form bonds with these instruments. And it's one of those things that with the video I did a few years ago about Gibson guitars and how people were, you know, just lumping on them all in all. And, you know, everybody loves to just, you know, accuse me of being a Gibson shill or being a member of the Gibson cult, as it were. All I can say is just, it doesn't, you form bonds with instruments that speak to you. So I totally know what you mean. And for me, like, my Les Pauls have been speaking to me since the day I got them. I've written songs on them. I've played gig after gig with them, done sessions with them. The Gibson guitars I have paid my bills. We've formed a bond, and that bond is never going to go away. And I definitely know where you're coming from, and that is something that is very risky when you can't play a guitar before you buy it. And that was one thing that I knew I wasn't going to be able to do with this. As a matter of fact, before I even added it to the cart, even my wife, who was totally behind me in getting this guitar, even said, what happens if you don't like it? And I just had to say, well, there's a contingency plan for that, but I'm not going to worry about that until it actually gets here. And in the last week, I haven't had to think about that. And that makes me feel pretty good. So there you go, my friends. Trust me, when it comes to these Ormsby GTRs, if you want to place a pre-order for future runs, if you want to have one of these newer ones, there are some more of these that look just like this on their Reverb shop, I do believe. There's some other B-stock ones and some other previous runs of the GTR models that are built by World Music, spec'd by Ormsby. They are on their Reverb page, but I can honestly say that the experience was great. Finding out all the info, buying it, getting it shipped from Australia all the way to Laguna Beach, California. It arrived in pristine condition. It arrived playing great. Hasn't changed in a week. I don't see it changing anytime soon, my friends. I just see a lot of chugs and a lot of riffs coming out of this guitar. So there you go. I'm looking forward to having this along for the ride, and thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We are about an hour and 5 into this, and I got other things to do tonight. But thank you so much to all of you for joining in on this live stream where we take a quick look at my new SX GTR, which we will see a more in-depth look on in the weeks to come. I want to thank all of you for supporting the channel and helping me get around to the 7K. I don't know if I'm at 7,000 subscribers yet. And if you haven't done so already, please do give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos, share this stuff with your friends, and hopefully I was able to teach you guys something about how you can buy a guitar without playing it, and you will feel confident in your purchase and you won't be second guessing yourself, because I hate second guessing myself and I do it all the time and I hate it. We don't need any more of that negativity in our lives. We just need cool guitars. All I need is tasty waves, cool buds, and I'm fine. That kind of stuff. I want to say a big thanks to Mr. Ben Coombs, Mr. Moderator to the Stars, for hanging out and helping out with everything on the channel. Big thanks to Mr. Perry Ormsby for joining in with us for a little bit. Hope you made it home safe, my friend. And like I said, if you have any other questions about this guitar, if you have any other questions about the process that I use to buy guitars without having played them, please do leave them in the comments section below. It is going to be a weird week the next couple of weeks. We are approaching Christmas, so next week we will be taking a pass on SPJ Live. However, the week after, we will probably be coming back and maybe even talking about the gear of the year, which you guys will be seeing a post in the community tab about very soon, because I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to choose your viewer's choice for gear of the year for 2020. Let's end this weird-ass year on a good note. Thank you all so much for joining in. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Hope you guys have a great holiday season. And until next time, my friends, I am Sean Pierce Johnson, and I wish you, wherever you're watching in the world, great tone, good health, happy stomping, and of course, a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Cheers, my friends. See you next time. God bless.